Hi guys, in today's review we'll be looking at an all new tooled locomotive exclusively for the model centre, and this is made by Bachmann for them, and this is the North Eastern Railway Class O 044T tank, or later the G5 by the Lner. This version is in its pre-grouping livery with a Westinghouse pump and a 2-rail bunker at the back. Like I said, this is exclusively for the TMC. The product code you need for this is 35-250Z, and this cost me £189.99 from the TMC. So let's get into the review and see if it's worth the money. So here goes, shall we? Starting off at the details and the instructions you get with this model. You do get an instruction book, tells you how to remove stuff like the body and also where to lubricate as well. Inside it does tell you where to add some of the detail parts if you want to do that, as well as the lamps and how to add a coupling. Reading through the manual, this does have a cordless motor, so be wary which controller you use. We also have a glow on analog, and on DCC you do have two different reds and oranges to make the fire flicker. Still a nice touch, and I believe if you have the sound version you also get sound on analog as well. In the detail bag you get quite a bit. Looks like you get fireman's tools, hooks for front and back with chain links. We also get the steps to go below the cab. We also get some which look to be lamps to go on the front and back of the model. We also have some cab doors as well. And I believe we have a vacuum pipe or air pipe too. The lamps themselves are painted and so are the doors as well. As we move on now to the front of the locomotive, this being a modern day locomotive, it does have metal sprung buffers. And these buffers are easily sprung. There's not much to press to get them to spring, which is quite good. They're not stiff at all. We do have a NEM pocket coupling already applied. I think it's a small one. On the buffer beam, it is in red with the number of this locomotive, which is 2093 in the correct font. We do have some holes for the detail parts like the hook. We also have the buffer beams itself, or buffers, in red as well, matching the buffer beam, which is nice. I think there's a few rivets dotted around as well. I also think there's a few guard irons down the bottom to knock stuff off the track. We also have a vacuum pipe as well, and the classification on the buffer beam too. Moving on up, we do have 3 lamp irons, looks to be moulded on, but they are quite thin and delicate. We also have some lining as well on, I think, sang boxes by the side of the boiler. We have a separately applied dart on there, it's just black. There's no picked out handrails or anything on this model from the front, like these on the Caledonian. They're in black as well. And at the top, we do have another lamp iron as well, and the chimney. As we now do a side look at this locomotive, there is slight differences to the other side. The other side by the edge of the tanks does have some gold piping on it, and then this side round here has the air pump. I believe that's what it is, a Westinghouse air pump applied. There are only 2 differences I can see personally. Also, this is the same shade of green that Bachmann used for their NER E1 or J72 they did a few years back. It is the same colour green and they look superb next to each other. Again, we do have lining on the splashers at the front. We also have the Westinghouse pump, like I said, that has lining on it. There's also some gold piping detail there as well on this side. We also have, I think, a steam pipe as well this side. The handrail looks to be black near the chimney and it's green as you get down to the cab. On the tanks we also have the lining of white, black and white, again with the correct font and styling of the North Eastern Railway with the initials on the tanks evenly spread out, which is. We also have the wheel configuration. This is done by Wurzel, I believe, and the wheel configuration is a 044, and we do have lining on the wheels as well. We also have, I believe, the axles covered up correct in the correct green too. The rod itself on the 2 driving wheels is metal. We also have a step between the 2 driving wheels. If you want to add the other step below the cab, that is in the detail bag. We do have some lining around the outside of the bunker along with the number. Again, the number of this locomotive is 2093, and if you're not guessed by now, it's in the pre-grouping livery of the North Eastern Railway. I believe there's also handrails as well going up the cab. 2, I'm not sure if they're moulded or separately applied. In some videos they look like they're moulded on, in others they look like they were separately applied, so I'm not too sure. We also have between the frames or the wheels, we also have some motion in there. Again, it's not picked out in red, it's in black. If you look carefully, you can see it. And you can also see the boiler banding underneath as well. Bachmann have continued that on underneath, which is fantastic. As we do an inside look at the cab now, this being a modern day locomotive, it is highly detailed. We do have flush glazing in there. I don't think it is a glazing bar. We also have a handbrake picked out in silver at the top and then red going down to where the handbrake needs to be. We also have some dials as well next to the windows. We have water gauges. We also have a wood flooring effect going on. This locomotive, like I said, does have a glow on analog. We also have it flickering on DCC fitted and sound, all that good stuff. We also have a wood flooring as well. Then at the back of the cab, we do have a few cupboards for the firemen as well. Again, the glow is not too bad. It's a nice touch. It is growing on me a little bit personally. As we do a back view of the bunker or the back of the locomotive, starting in the usual places, this does have a coupling already applied to it. It's a small NEM one. They're already applied. We do have metal sprung buffers. Like I said before, they are quite soft. They're not stiff like others. They are quite soft and nice. The buff beam housing is in red with a few rivets. We also have some lining on the buff beam like we do on the front. Again, we have the number of the locomotive, which is 2093. We also have a hole for one of the hooks in the detail bag. Again, I believe we have the classification of this locomotive, which is 0 or O by the Northeastern. Again, it's all in the correct font. We also have a vacuum pipe or air pipe already applied as well. Moving on up, we do have 3 lamp irons already applied. We also have some wonderful lining on the back of this bunker here, which again matches the locomotive itself, which is white, black and white. We have, which looks to be like a handrail in the centre with another lamp iron on it as well. And then we have the coal rails, then we get to the coal, and then after that we get to the back of the cab, which is in black. Again, the windows or spectacles have a gold rim around them. I believe the front ones do as well, which is a nice touch. It's quite a detailed back of a locomotive, if I'm honest. As we do an aerial view now on top of the locomotive, starting in the usual places, which will be the coal load and the roof. The coal load itself is metal. Usual Bachmann style is metal. A little bit shiny, but doesn't bother me. I believe it could be removable. The roof itself is black with a rain duct at either side for the crew. And these are moulded on vent, which doesn't move, but it's moulded on. Again, it's prototypical, it's correct. Bachmann and TMC have probably done their research on this model. As we move along to the whistles and safety valves, the whistles and safety valves, or the whistles in this case, are metal. They look the part. The safety valve itself is correct for the Era 2 that this one is, and it's shiny chrome colour, I want to call it. Again, it looks correct. We do have glazing at the front. Again, it's flush and they are gold rimmed. You can also see a bit of lining around the boiler there as well. As we move along a little bit more, both of these water tanks are slightly different. One side has the holders for the fireman's tools on it. Both of the water filler caps do not open, but they're fine enough to look at. Again, we have the lining on the boiler. I think we have 5 bits of lining here. We also have a dome which is separately applied. And on one side we have the Western house pump, on the other side we don't. And then again at the front we have I think it's for sanding equipment by the front of the locomotive. And then we have the chimney as well. Both sides of the locomotive do have different stuff on them. One has 2 handrails, one has 1 handrail. We also have some gold lining around the end of the chimney, beginning of the boiler. And finally, as we do a underneath look at the locomotive, this locomotive does have bearings already applied to the axles, which is great. Will hopefully make the loco run better. I couldn't fully get the base plate, keeper plate off completely. I do apologise. That's a good touch anyway. And I believe it was the last driving wheel that had all the cogs. I've got that correct. From this angle, you can see underneath the bogie and underneath the bunker some wiring and a PCB board, I believe it's called as well. Under there, if you move the bogie either side, you can see it clearly. That's the only bad thing I've got from the underside. What we do have is all-wheel pickup. So the bogie does have pickups on the small wheels as well, which is fantastic. We also have 2 NEM couplings either side of the loco, front and back. Again, it is all pickups on the driving wheels as well. The base key plate, like I said, should come away fully, but for some reason mine doesn't want to. but it's got to clean the wiper pickups too with that as well, which is great. I believe it's contacts inside. There's no wires attached to this like the way Bachmann used to do it. To take the body off, it's 3 screws, I believe, 1 under the front coupler and 2 underneath the cab if you want to take the shell off. To look inside, which has a cordless motor, and it also has a pre-fitted speaker as well, and you've got to see the LEDs to the cab for the flickering firebox or glow. Again, underneath you can see that it is a Bachmann locomotive. Again, there's a few underneath details like sanding pipes and brake shoes and all that good stuff. They're already applied and stuff like that. So it is a highly detailed underneath of a locomotive. Again, the only bad thing I said like is the underneath the bunker you can see some wiring and a board. That's really about it. So yeah guys, that's it on the tracks. Next up will be the usual points, which are mainly second radius, the new way I do it, and the second radius test on the bends, because some of my Bachmann locomotives do tend to struggle on my second radius for some reason. I'm sure this loco will manage the second radius and points easy with being all-wheeled pickups, which is fantastic. So here goes, let's find out if we can manage that, shall we? Not bad, was that 20? No issues both ways, and this is DC ready. So yeah, it managed that pretty fine, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't surprised it managed it, but it's quite a smooth runner, if I'm honest with you. Next it will be some slow speed, and I'll find it a train to pull, so here goes. What's that? 10? It's pretty good. It's not bad, this isn't bad. Quite smooth as well at this speed too. So yeah guys, that's the end of the review and running session. Before I give you my opinion, I do the usual, tell you what it ran with, which was a mixture of 6-wheel coaches, mainly Lner. We have a Great Northern one there, we have a pre-war Lner one there. I don't have any North Eastern Railway stock at all to run with this, so they're the best I can do. I didn't want to use Thompson or Gretley coaches because they would look a little bit odd, but hey, they don't look too bad. Like I said, this is a exclusive to the Model Centre. And like I said before, I paid £189.99, and this is done by Bachmann. If I'm honest with you, the price isn't too bad. This day and age, it's almost the same price as the Kelly 812 by Bachmann that they do in the pre-grouping livery. Again, there's no issues. It's got all-wheeled pickups. It's got flickering firebox or glow, depending on your preference. The livery is superb. It's wonderful. I can't really fault the livery. The only issue I have, and I've got to be a little bit honest here, is underneath the bunker. We do have a PCC board, I believe, and some wires showing. That's the only issue I've got, but when it's on the track like it is now, are you going to see it? No, but it's just that I had to mention it if I'm reviewing some stuff. I have to be honest and say that's the only issue I have. But like I said, for a pre-grouping tank engine, it's not too bad. It's not as cheap as the 1P that Bachmann do, which I think is 140, 130 in the pre-grouping liveries. But it is nice to have some Lner pre-grouping stock come through from manufacturers. And let's be honest, when Bachmann do a pre-grouping locomotive, they do knock it out of the park. The Kelly 812, the 1P, this, even the 94XX that they've done. The only one I'm not too sure on is the improved President. And also I was a bit unsure if this was going to come with traction tyres or not, but luckily they didn't put any in, which is fantastic. Hopefully they will stop putting traction tyres on locomotives. There is several liveries if you're interested. This is the most expensive one. I believe they do a BR one and several Lner ones, and they're a little bit cheaper. I think they're 170-ish, depending on the liveries or do with the livery. Because this is an intricate livery, they can charge a little bit more. Honestly, I don't mind. If they're as good as this, I don't mind. There's also one they're doing, which is the preserved one, or the one that's being built. And I believe that's going to be in its pre-grouping livery. And a percentage of the sales on that model will go to the building of the real locomotive, which I think is a wonderful touch. I wish more shops or manufacturers would bring that in, because, you know, it's good. Like I said, for me, this is superb. Highly recommend these for pre-grouping people or small tank engine fans. Even if you don't want a pre-grouping one, like I said, there's other ones, I think all the way up to the BR. So yeah, so highly impressed by this, if I'm honest with you. So that's my opinion on this fine model. Hopefully I'll see you in the next review. So please take care and goodbye.